Yeah, so my name's Adrian Harkin. I was the brains behind Inish Adventures, which originated as Just Kayak uh, way back in 2009. Then, about 2013, 2014, we sort of grew out of Just Kayak, and Inish Adventures came out of that because we were doing more than just kayaking, doing powerboat sailing, and all the extras, banana boating. So it just, as the company grew, the name had to change basically. So as the company grew, to we got involved. We were running all the courses, RYA, British Canadian courses, Canoe Ireland courses, all within Moville, and ISA courses. And I we were running sea kayaking courses from there as well, taking us out around the coastline and stuff. But David approached me then in Dunree, I think it was around 2017, 2016, and they run kayaking from here. So in the shed down below, we have the kayaks here. Now, the difference of running the kayak and the sea kayaking from here is we go around the corner, we give people caves, and certain times of year you have loads of wildlife, bird life, and you have that variety of different caves, from small to big, and you have the shelter of the loch, or you have the shelter of out around the corner, depends on weather. So probably one of the things we've mostly learned here was once it starts blowing over 17 knots, just cancel or postpone the trips. And that's the only thing that holds us back here is the weather. Now, in Moville, most weathers we can deal with. And the age difference here is people have to be over 14 years of age over in Dunree, whereas in Moville, it can be any age. In school, in fourth year in school, you had to pick your topics, and I chose outdoor pursuits. Well, in fact, I chose computer studies first, and I realised it wasn't for me, so I got jumped across the outdoor pursuits because I heard the boys were all getting outside. So, and it was then I was first introduced to kayaks and hill walking and stuff like that, and it just developed from there. So within 2 years, I was actually guiding the teachers down whitewater stuff, So then foil paddlers in Derry, Mike Pull, Joe Rotherham, Aidan McKinney, they all took me under their wing and just developed. By the time I was 18, I was just getting out of country to go paddling because the mountain ranges get bigger. So from Ireland, we had Kerry, Wicklow, Donegal Hills. Then I started heading for Scotland. Scotland wasn't big enough. Then I wanted to go Alpines, So the mountain ranges just got bigger. And I suppose when I was about 19, 20, somebody introduced me to sea kayaks, Paddy Grant, and went paddling with Paddy actually in Loch Swilly. I thought, Jesus, that's right. And then I kind of got my hands on a sea kayak and went sea kayaking and realised I could get big rapids in the sea. And the rapids would last for hours. And I could play in a one big wave in the sea and stay there for hours on tidal races and just play, So I realised all the features of the river you're basically able to get in the sea, over falls and stuff as well, So it just became a playground. And the closer you got on the shore, the lumper it got, we called it rock hopping, where you're trying to avoid bunching off the rocks, and the skill set got better, and watching swell what was coming and what was going, and just your eye for it got tuned in, And the one thing, the sea was always there, whereas white water depended on rain. And when you had no rain, you had no white water, but you always had the sea and you always had tide. Then I started realising the difference in tides, spring tides, neap tides, and stuff like that. So I then got introduced to a guy, Robin Ruddock, from the North Coast. And Robin took me away for 3 or 4 sessions, just teaching me more and more about the sea kayaking. Then I started trips out to Scotland, out the west coast of Scotland and stuff. Then it was just at the time, I think it was about 23, 24, I became a 5-star sea kayak. At 19, I was a 5-star whitewater kayaker. So that was nearly a license for me just to go away on my own and discover places. So I've done most of the islands off the west coast. The only ones I've left to do is the Inish I've slept in Skellig Michael, I've slept in the Blaskets and Spickle and Charlie Hockey's islands and stuff. I've done quite a few of them. And but still my favourite island has to be Inish Adventures. Because it's such a great playground, because of the tides around it, the wildlife around it. Whereas a trip to Inish Adventures, you'd be lucky enough, you'll see minke whales, you'll see dolphins, bass sharks, seals, hundreds of seals, and then your bird wildlife after that, where the wee puffins could be coming down and landing beside you, So yeah, that's, to me, I will see kayaking. Sea kayaking is like a discovery. You just go every day and you just discover what's around your corner. 20 years ago, we all sat down to make up guidebooks, and we were asked for input into the river guides. And kind of to my discretion, I kind of thought, well, England and Scotland's having problems with access and egress in Wales because there's that many paddlers in England. They were moving into Wales, moving up to Scotland, and just changed the landscape. Basically, it's changed the footprints where you have to get on a certain point, you have to get out at a certain point. So I kind of made that clear on the guidebook that we would give definite get in, get out spots, So the guidebook then was developed, but we still all have our secret rivers behind it locally, which we never ever put in the guidebook. And they've only been added in this last 10 years. So then I had the opportunity to work with the Locks Agency and make a guidebook for River Foyle. So starting from Lifford, coming right down and around as far as Malin Head. And we're able to paddle and just write. And photographers took photographs of each sections, And the guidebook turned out really well. And Andy Sides had wrote it up. And that guidebook started winning awards, the way it was presented. Because one of the conversations myself and Andy had was, we need to put maps in. And he says, we'll put our ordinary survey maps. And I says, no. Most paddlers would buy an ordinary survey map because they get the information. But if we put in the charts, the sea charts on it, I says, at least they're getting both then, and they'll take the guidebook with them, And even to the day, you still people coming up, they're looking to do different sections of the guidebook, and they would drop you an email or a phone call. They asked you what conditions is like, Way back at the original start, I kind of thought, well, I would like to make Inishowen the capital kayaking of Ireland. And there are 2 ways of doing that. One was just keep doing it, keep advertising, and hopefully get people. The other thing was they run events. So we came up with a brainwave of Cranafest, and we ran Cranafest, and at the stage we had 700 people participating in Cranafest. Cranafest actually became bigger than the Liffey Descent, which would have been the biggest event in Ireland. So we did open it up to local people for whitewater rafting as well. We worked with the Donegal Council and Irish Waters. They released the water first, and that guaranteed white water. Then over the last few years, we started doing night races on it just to keep that buzz coming about it. And even last year, we changed the advanced motocross, which was on a Sunday afternoon, and we put that on the Saturday night in the dark. So the guys, it just changed the whole dynamics of the race, and people were coming to that event wondering what's going to change. And the other thing was there was 3-4 different levels in that event. From the bottom of the park, you made your way up to what we called Westbrook Bridge, the Claw. So, and then doing it at night was a different stage 4 basically. So you had the same people coming, and they were itching to make their way up the river every year. So we added in coaching sessions then, which attracted more people again. So Fulcher Ireland reckon it was bringing in nearly 300,000 quid to Buncrana in a month for our weekend in October. So that set us up as a whitewater scene. And then I thought about the sea. So what we did was a sea symposium. So we organised the sea symposium then around Easter over in Moville, and that done the same trick as well. But that was a different market. So now I was hitting the sea kayaking market, and the sea kayaking market was the biggest growing kayaking market in the world at the time. It was getting bigger than the whitewater because everybody could go sea kayaking. Not everybody can do whitewater, So I recognised that about 8 years ago, and we changed things in the centre to suit everybody and get everybody a taste of sea kayaking. I think this place is unique if it could be opened up a wee bit more for the river. There's certain rivers within Inishowen that could be opened up a wee bit more, and if they were opened up a wee bit more around summertime and mixing fishermen and kayakers working together, yes, it would open that market more. For the sea, and this is one of the reasons why we chosen Dunree location, was people was getting exactly what sea kayakers do. They go out there, they go around corners, they discover what's in behind that rock, going on the cave, curious to see what's in the cave, looking at the wildlife, coming around, you might see dolphins, you might see seals, then looking at the seaweeds, working out dulse, eating dulse on your way, going into a cave, swimming in the cave, and the whole dynamics of the sea kayaking then was kind of changing. So now it was carrying snorkels and masks and flip fins in the back of boats. So if people want to go out and do a wee bit of snorkeling as well, we can do that, So it's just changed it slightly, and people are going, you don't need distance for sea kayaking. To me, it was always about the quality, not the distance. Here, you get more swell out at the point here in Dunree. You're still getting that whole northwesterly swell. Where we are at Moville and the Foyle, we're kind of sheltered from that. It's not till you go around on a showing head, you're going to get hit with that, I would say Moville's probably more dangerous, or not Moville, Greencastle, the Foyle's more dangerous because there's that much tide squeezing out through a narrower spot, I think in the Foyle system alone, there's 900 miles of waterways by the time you take in all the rivers and the tributaries coming in to the basin there. There's 900 mile of waterways trying to squeeze out through that mile gap of Greencastle, which turns it into a great learning process, a great coaching area, and you're still within the loch, and it's only when you get past Greencastle you start to feel the swell coming through as well, which there's a natural progression there, For me, you get TY groups coming through, or secondary school groups, And June is nearly, we get booked out with all the national schools. So you're getting kids from a very, very young age to you're getting your guys about to leave school and go to college, So we are getting them mixes coming through to summertime. But then after summer, the TYs do these bonding sessions as well. There was some of the kids I'd taken, they become number one slalomers in Ireland. There's other kids, they went off to college and they were running the kayak schools from college. There's other ones went and done outdoor courses and they are still running for county councils outdoors. And there's other guys just went to be physios and they're away in New Zealand and places and they're sending back photographs of them paddling in New Zealand, So yeah, your student from the early days I started coaching the way back I was 17. I still have students calls into me they run their own companies in England and stuff, and they come in every time they come home. Hey, we're going for a pint. What's the crack? And you're just going. That's nearly 30 years, and they're still coming back. They go and catching up, So students never actually go away. Once they get so far locked in, it's kind of and you see them coming back with their families as well, which is cool. It's being outside, being in the wild, it's being in the headspace, and what the thought that goes through your head when you're in the water is nothing but your surroundings. And nothing else matters, it's just the surroundings. And you get take people out with business people and they go, I never even thought of business here. And I go, no. You don't, because what you're thinking is keeping the boat upright. What's on behind that rock? What's going on there? Gee, because there's a swell coming, the whole dynamics change. So the whole relaxation of it changes, And I just believe everybody should be outdoors just to get that space, And you don't have to go wildfire to see, even to watch birds and the different types of birds moving about, That's quite unusual. We're blessed because we live in rural Ireland, basically. So we can all step outside our doors and go for a walk. But if you're in the city, it's a different space, and no matter what city you're in as well, they all have parks. They all have wildlife, and it's a matter of looking at a bit more carefully and just watching and trying to pick out the different types of wildlife and stuff, just to take your mind and put it somewhere else, take an interest and put it somewhere, For us, I'm blessed. I can step outside my door and walk around the shore, and days like a day where it's really stormy and you don't meet too many people on the shore, but it's lovely. It's wet, it's miserable, and really blowing a hilly. It's lovely. Basically, I'm from Derry. I was born and reared in the Bogside in Derry. And I kind of knew nothing outside of that. But City Bass was there, and at a young age I started swimming. And I don't know if it's swimming or half drowning you call it. You thought you could swim, but we picked up. Then from there, I joined the City Derry Swim Club, and that's where my love for water came from. So I would have been training every morning and going to competitions, weekends and stuff like that. And fair play to the work that Seamus McInerney and Carmel had done for kids like us within the city, and they took us away to America and Holland and stuff as well. They compete in different events and stuff, So that love from water was there from a very young age. And our summer holidays was always Bundoran, And Bundoran had these big diving boards and cliffs. Yeah, it was fantastic. Where you spent 2 weeks just living on the beach. Amusements didn't matter, I remember one of those stories was collecting a really sunny day. Everybody just left the beach, left their litter on the beach, and we used to go around collecting all the lemonade bottles. You used to get 10p back in the bottle. So you went back, took the bottles up to the shop, got your money, you went into the fishing shop next door, and you bought the hand lines. And we used to be a crab pool, we used to go fishing the crabs. And we spent days catching the crabs, putting them on the bucket, and at the end of the day, put them back out again. You know, and you're back the next day, kind of fishing for crabs again. You know, waiting for the tide to come in so you could go swimming and diving. So, and then just normal fishing as well in the evenings, like. So the whole fortnight of our holidays was just spent walking the beaches, cliff jumping, crab fishing, and just ordinary fishing off the rocks, you know. So the appreciation for the sea would have came from a young age as well, and the respect for it when you just knew it was dangerous, you know. It was slightly different from a swimming pool. So I learned at school, I was introduced to it a wee bit more and understood it more about the safety and stuff around it, and yeah. And probably one of the things that comes to mind was the life-saving courses then we all did in the swim pools and stuff, you know. And then we were taking them down to Ned's Point, in Swally, to do life-saving there. Then over to Carrick-na-Rory Pier in Moville to do, and we went up as far as Silver Cross and stuff like that, you know. But that life-saving thing is still there, and everyday paddling with us, you know. So it was just more in water they taught you. There was a lot of, it was kind of the outlook it gave me. It gave me an outlook from, there's more places than just Derry, you know. Politics, who cares? We've no control over it, you know. Communities, there's no difference between a Catholic or a Protestant or a black man or a white man. We're all the same. Just get on with it, you know. And growing up in the Bogside, it taken years to get that out of me, I suppose. But then when I was like, you can't look back, what was all that about? You know, why was that there? But yeah, so it was more than just water. You kind of learned from the water, you know, and it was just respect for others and respect for everybody using the water and stuff, you know, and the creatures around it. I was introduced to BAIM probably about 3 years ago. I was at a conference in Donegal town, and I was asked to speak at a conference as a SME. And when I spoke, I met a guy, Owen Doyle introduced me to his boss, John Lauer, and he says, we would like to help you, you know. So from there, they told me to apply for, have a program together, have a thought, you know. So they helped me to move up the standard of our boats and engines, and we're kayaks as well, we're sea kayaks. That was the first year. Then we discovered 3 phases. And that first year down here as well, they helped me to buy the boats for working out of Dunree. So then we went to phase 1 for Moville, which was buying pontoons. So that put steps into the water for me and took us out 20 odd metres out in the water. So it meant the sailing dinghies could come round and tie off the ribs, could come and tie off the pontoons. But the bigger thought for that, which was introduced in this year, was the water park. So that was phase 2. So the water park then made us build sheds for, we needed hundreds of wetsuits, you know, and then it made us build other sheds then for changing rooms, because hundreds of wetsuits, there was hundreds of people coming, and our changing rooms aren't big enough, and so everything started getting bigger. And when we opened the water park on the 1st of June this year, there calculated somewhere between 3,500 to 5,000 people came through our gate. and it was brilliant to see life back in Moville. You know, the local people coming and saying it's like regattas day every day. You know, it turned that whole shore green, and it was like a coliseum, whereas people of all ages were sitting picnicking, eating, watching the people falling and sliding off the park, and the old people having a laugh at the guys out on the park. It's used from everybody from the age of 6 upwards, and it depends on everybody's fitness from there up, you know. But there's no age limit on it. It depends on everybody's individual. So you go out the end of pontoons, you swim 10, 15 metres to the water park, you pull yourself up these ramps, then you go and you can go up steps, down slides, in and out through pillars, balance beams, and from balance beams you can go on to the monkey bars, which are pretty tough. And if you fall off a monkey bar, you fall into a pool of water, and it's even harder getting yourself out of a pool of water back. You know, trampolines. There was climbing walls, with slides down the other side as well, and swinging doors and stuff like that, and slinging bars, everything that you imagine to knock you off. You know, and so the trick was trying to get around the park and staying dry. It was nearly impossible. You know, so the age range for that, there was no age range. You know, it was down to the individual fitness, and even for us going out, even for me, we were out and playing about in it before we opened it up. I thought 40 minutes in this thing's enough, you know. It's quite a workout, like, you know. So I was right. After about 30 minutes, everybody just sort of flopped down, you know. They're all sitting around the trampoline and all, you know. But yeah, it was great to see it. We turned downstairs, we conference room, and a cafe shop, which, yeah, it created more employment and it looked after itself as well. And I just knew we were creating our own business to support that as well. So yeah, it worked surprisingly. The coffee's nice, and I'm still drinking the coffee, you know. So yeah, it was kind of like a one-stop shop. But with that volume of people, we couldn't deal with that volume of people because they're hungry. They have to go up to town and eat. So that's where the whole town, everybody was making money. The whole Inish Zone was making money off the back of the water park with the visitors. I think the future could be pretty good. So one of the things that I've done, and I've targeted from kids 14 years of age, 13, 12 years of age, there was a training process they came through. So whenever they got to 14, we can give them a paddle sport instructor's award. Now, over the last few years, I've been starting to recognise TYs at school and bringing them in and training them all to turn them into staff. So the fact that they're in staff, there's an element of them funding themselves to go to college. So if you take one TY person, by the time they finish school, you've got 3 years employment from them, 3 summers. They go away to college for 4 years. They come back and work hard in the summer to get the money to fund themselves for the next year of college. And it takes a bit of pressure off the family and the home life as well. And the kids are earning fairly good money. So is there space for employment around the shores? I think so. And there's a lot of battle against all these net baskets up along the shores. Yes, they look horrible. Yes, they kind of shouldn't be there. But here, look at the employment that that's bringing in round and the showing alone, like, you know. And even over in River Foyle, there's guys in sheds building boats to go out to the sandbars with these things, you know, and the amount of employment coming out of that. So if you look actually carefully around the coastline, and see the employment coming from places, it's shocking. Like, you know, the amount of money he's making from the sea indirectly. And yeah, I just think there's a lot of potential, and they grow the whole tourist industry. There's more and more potential.